All right, hello and welcome back. So this time we are going to just basically continue working on our POS screen, right? And then today we're actually going to start working on the search bar here. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to create this widget here. So I'm going to break this down a bit, all right? Now look at this. We have a text input, right? Which is this, which actually accepts our text, and we have basically just a drop down here. All right, so that's just how we're going to take it. We're going to take a text input, put a drop down in it, and hopefully this works. All right, I'm super excited about this one. So let's begin. All right. Uh, Today's lesson, ladies and gents, is creating custom widgets. All right, so text fields, and we already have a flat field, so we're actually going to utilize this. All right, let's create our brand new custom widget. All right, let's put it down here. All right, so the class of this, what should we call it? Expandable input. And actually, I'm just gonna call it search bar, because why not? All right, it's gonna take our flat field here with our default values here. All right, and then so search bar, and we're gonna define our init to pass on. Oh, lovely. All right, so the first thing we are going to want, we definitely don't want this going multi-line, right? That is because we want such that when you hit enter, you don't go to the next line, but rather that signifies the end of input. All right, so it's actually multi-line, and this is gonna be set to false. All right, so what we're gonna do is all right, let's just go back to the basics just a bit. All right, so in Kivy, all widget properties have event handlers basically attached to them, even this. All right, so right now we changed multi-line to false, right? And the moment we change this, an event is going to be fired, all right, to update whoever is listening that multi-line was just changed to false. And that is true for basically all properties of a widget, even custom widgets like this. So what that means is, for example, here, multi-line, we changed it to false. And then at this point, an event called on multi-line, right? This function actually already exists. So this function was called when this was changed. All right, and this is true for basically everything. You can see it here on bcolor. On bcolor, here is our property called bcolor. As soon as we change that, this function is called every time. All right, without delay, without any conditions. And it's the same for all widgets. All right, this is important because that is the concept we are going to use to build the search bar. All right, so in our case, we basically want to, all right, here's what's going to happen. Every time a user enters text, right, we naturally want to show a drop down of the available choices based on the text they entered. So what we're going to do is we're going to bind to the text attribute of a text input. Remember, a text input has a dot text attribute, which you can use to set or get the text, the current text of the text input. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to bind to the on text attribute, and then we're going to basically call a function that opens a drop down when the text changes. All right, so like I said, these functions already exist in your widgets. So in this case, we want to bind to the on text attribute because that's responsible for listening to text changes. All right, so on text is going to take self, obviously. And the second thing, and this is true for all widgets, the second thing is the instance calling that widget. All right, so whichever widget is changing this attribute is going to be the instance here. And then finally, the last value is always going to be the current value of the property that is being changed. So in this case, this is going to be the new text that was entered into our text field. All right, so we're just going to do text. So this text, if by default we had, for example, C, right, and then we enter A, right, this text attribute is not going to contain A only. It's going to contain the full string of the text field. All right, that's important. All right. So on text, what we're doing right now is we're basically overriding the default, and we're going to add our own logic to it. All right. I hope that makes sense. So what we want to do is actually I'm gonna put this in a try catch because I hate errors. All right, and I'm just gonna accept and just ignore. So for now, when the text changes, what do we really want to do? First, we want to close all drop downs already open, right? And then we want to show the current suggestions. So what this means is we don't want a situation where we end up just with hundreds of drop downs on our window, because that is exactly what will happen if we don't close this. So what we're going to do basically here is when the text changes, we are going to check if we already have drop downs open. So basically, are we already showing suggestions, right? If we're already showing suggestions, we're going to remove those suggestions, and then we are going to show our new suggestions that we get that are basically related to the text that's currently being entered. All right. So what I'm going to do is first I'm going to go up here, right? And then I'm going to create a new function, and I'm just going to call this drop down, a new attribute, sorry. And I'm going to say it's none. All right. That basically means we don't have a drop down yet. So here now we can simply say if self.dropdown, if self.dropdown, which means dropdown is set, that basically means that we have a dropdown open because it's set, it's somewhere. All right. So if we have a dropdown, we are going to self.dropdown.dismiss, right? And this will close the dropdown. And then we are going to set dropdown back to none so that this condition is false the next time. All right. Now that that one is set, the next thing we can do is let's basically I'm just gonna close that. The next thing we want to do is we want to show the suggestions for the current text. All right, so what we're gonna do is actually I'm gonna put this in a separate function, and I'm just gonna call it show suggestions like that, and it's gonna take the current text that we have. All right, so now let's go down here and let's create this what do we call it? Show suggestions. All right, it's gonna take self and suggestion. So this is the current text that's been input, and it's a string, by the way. All right, for now let's just pass. All right, and that's it for the starter. Now the next thing we definitely need here is when we show our drop down, right? Oh, sorry, not when we show our drop down. When we get this text, we want to compare it with the text on our product list. All right, and we have to put this in a list. So we're going to basically create a new list that contains possible matches, and then that list containing the possible matches is going to be the list that we show on the drop down. All right. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go up here, and I'm gonna create a new list called choices, and this is basically the current choices that we have, and it's gonna be a list property because it's a list, right? And then I'm just gonna save that. All right, and then at this point all we have to do now is we basically just have to show the suggestions, right? All right, so let's go ahead and do just that. So first I'm gonna put this in a try catch again. All right, so accept, and let's just pass that for now. All right, so first we are going to create our drop down. All right, so what we need now is I'm just gonna close these out. We need a drop down. All right, so let's go up and do from Kivy.uix.dropdown import drop down. Drop, is it down? Drop down like that. And now let's create our drop down right here. Ooh. Alright, so I'm gonna say self.dropdown is equal to our new drop down here. Alright, and then let's do some styling on the drop down. So first I'm gonna do self.dropdown dot auto width. Alright, I'm gonna set this one to false. So auto width is basically means that the drop down's width will always be the width of its children, right? Now this is a problem because sometimes you may not have anything, right? So basically the drop down will not have a width, and we don't want that. So I'm gonna set auto width to false so that I set my own width for the drop down. Okay, so the next thing is I'm just gonna get the window real quick. So from kivy.core.window, we're going to import the window. So the window, we're going to use it to get the current width of the screen that we have, and then we're going to size the drop down according to that. So self.dropdown dot width. Actually, we need to size and X it so that it doesn't stick to its 100% size hint. All right, so self.dropdown now dot width, and this is gonna be window dot width, so the current width, and I'm gonna do let's do times 0.4, and like we can always adjust this later, but for now we'll just go with that's basically 40% of the available width that's in our window. All right, and now what we're gonna do is we have a drop down, but we need you know, the suggestions that we have. All right, so what we're gonna do with this is I'm just gonna do for C in self.choices. Remember we said choices is gonna contain the current matches basically. All right, so for C in self.choices, for now let's just add a, you know, just a button. Do we have a button? No, we don't. All right, let's just import a simple button and just use that. So from kivy.uix.button, we want the button class. All right, now let's do b is equal to a button. b.text is gonna be equal to c, and then should we size this? Let's just size it. So b.sizing y is equal to none. b.height is equal to dp54, because why not? All right, and then now we finally just need to add this into our dropdown. All right, so self.dropdown dot add underscore widget. What do we want to add? We want to add our lovely button. All right, so now on text we're going to show our dropdown. All right, but right now our dropdown isn't actually being shown. All right, so what we're gonna do is down here we are going to just trying to think, because you see we created our dropdown, but self-choices could be empty. So if we just show it now, like down here, we could potentially show an empty dropdown, right? So I'm just gonna get around this by just doing like a simple counter. So int x is equal to 0, and then down here I'm simply gonna say x plus equal 1. All right, now down here now we've removed all of that. Why is that showing? I have no idea what that is. So anyway, I'm gonna say if x is greater than 0, which means we have something in our drop down. So let's go ahead and show our drop down. So self.dropdown dot open, and basically open can take a parameter which is the parent of that drop down. So in this case, we want to parent it to our text input. All right. What is this? I don't know what this is. Is it gonna give us errors? Statements must be separated by new lines or semicolons. Alright, let's do that. Still not gonna work. I have no idea what that is. But auto width, size and width. Alright, we'll just run it and see if we get an error. Alright, so now what I'm gonna do is before I close this one off, I want to bind to basically the drop down opening. Alright, so I am going to go here and I'm gonna do define open drop down, and this is so that we can manually open the drop down when we want. Alright, so I'm gonna do if self.dropdown. Again, that basically means we don't want to try to open a drop down that doesn't exist. Alright, so we're simply going to do self.dropdown.open, and we want to parent it to our search bar. And with that, I think we should have everything. Alright, let's just let's give it a swing. So first in our choices here, I'm gonna do product 01, product 02, and this is just to see if our drop down works. Product 03, lovely. Now let's go to our main and import our new text field. Alright, so Control D, Control V, Control S. Done. Now, where are we using that? Is it in our POS? POS.kv. Alright, let's replace. Is it here? Search by product. Yeah, let's replace that with our search bar. Alright, Control S to save that. Now let's try to run this. What is this? I don't get it. I wonder what that is. Oh shit, I forgot. Jesus. You'll have to forgive me there. I'm slowly getting used to Flutter. Jesus. Alright, we don't need the int. We can put it here if we want. Alright, I was declaring variables. Sorry, I've been making this other awesome Flutter app, so I'm confusing Python with Flutter. Yeah. Alright, anyway, this is what we have. I'm just gonna press F or D, and we have our lovely drop down. Alright, so it looks like this is gonna work. Alright, there you go. But now, notice something, right? We're typing, and if there's nothing, the drop down doesn't close off. Alright, let's see if we can fix that. Alright, let's do some fancy stuff now. What we're gonna do is we're basically going to look into the keyboard, right? And then if somebody basically presses enter, which is the caret return, we are going to, like, if somebody enters, like if there's nothing on the text box, that's the first thing, or if somebody enters, like just clicks enter, we are going to dismiss the drop down, because either way, it's either we're going to want to show new suggestions or we're going to want to destroy the drop down anyway. All right, so I'm gonna do the text input has this keyboard on key down event. All right, so we're going to take that and we are going to change it a bit. On key down. All right, it's gonna take self. It's gonna take the current window. It's gonna take the key code. So whatever they pressed when they fired this one, it's gonna take the current text that we have on our text input and whatever modifiers we have. So basically shift, control, or alt, or whatever, right? All right, and we actually don't care about most of these things. What we want to do is first we are going to just do self.text. Actually, we don't want to do that. I'm going to do if the key code 0. So key code is a tuple, right? And it's a tuple of how do I put it? Like a number corresponding to the key as well as the key itself. So I'm gonna do odd and carriage return. So /r is carriage return. That's basically just enter, right? And what we're gonna do is we're gonna do self.text. So the current text that we have now, right, is gonna be how should I put it to? Actually, let's just do this for now, right, and see how it goes. All right, and then the important thing is this one. If we have a drop down, we want to dismiss the drop down. So self the drop down dot dismiss, right, and then self dot drop down is equal to none. All right, let's run this and see what we get. Oh, it's on the other screen again. So just gonna do D, just gonna remove D, and it's not gonna allow me to remove the D. All right, let's make it self.values instead. All right, and self.values 0. All right, let's see if that works. If it doesn't, we'll just have to fix it on the next one. And it's not allowing me to delete it again. Oh, actually, I know why it's not. We overwrote this function, right? But we are only accounting for one case only. That means the rest of the keys now are basically not accounted for, so Kivy doesn't know what to do with them. So what we're gonna do is do an else here and say if this is not the case, well, we want the original keyboard on key down function to handle everything because we have no idea what to do with it. All right, so we're gonna do keyboard on key down, right? And then we are going to basically give it all these things. So window, what's the other one? Key code, the text, and then the modifiers as well. All right, so now we're saying we will handle this special event, but if it's something else, then we want Kivy to continue handling it the way it was handling it before. All right, so df that works, but still doesn't dismiss this. What should we do about you? I wonder if I should just dismiss this. All right, just gonna remove that and see if I can just dismiss it. So dfd. All right, so that dismisses it now. And ladies and gentlemen, congratulations, you just created your very first very lovely search bar widget. If you have any questions whatsoever regarding this part of the tutorial, don't hesitate to leave them in the comment section. Otherwise, as always, I am Sam. I am having a lovely weekend. I hope you're having a lovely weekend yourselves. Goodbye.